This show does not come with instructions. Think at your own risk. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
Where does the real power lie? The power behind the power. Because it's no longer about who lives in the White House. It's about who owns the White House.
This is the presidency. How much higher can a politician go?
The real power isn't here. It's beyond here. It's above it, but still working in conjunction.
You can take simple steps to prepare for hurricanes, including getting a COVID-19 vaccine. You can take simple steps to prepare for hurricanes, including getting a COVID-19 vaccine.
With it.
Yeah, remember that? Good times. Good times. So, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's just hard to realize that we're that dense. But if a hurricane comes, get that vaccine, okay? Get that vaccine. So it's hard to believe that was only a couple years ago. I know. I hope we've come far since then. Welcome to the show today. I've got Melissa on board, Midwest. Melissa, how are you?
Yeah. Greetings from the heart of influenza territory out here in the Midwest.
Can you believe the headlines on that, by the way? I just had to say, now Susan's out today. She's sick. And I just have to say, we just hope she gets better. And she will. But the flu. Oh my gosh, the flu. If you have the flu, yes, I have. I've seen them make a big deal about the flu, but this is just insane. It's insane.
Well, as many people know from before the break, my husband just had some surgery.
Yes.
And he is not allowed to sneeze or cough. And because the surgery was through his nose, right? Yeah. No, it's through his nose.
Oh.
And anyway, then my son, just before Christmas, came down with the flu.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little panicky around here.
Right.
But everyone has come through. My husband and I did not get it. There was a lot of Clorox and Lysol in my house for a while, but that's okay because we survived, all of us.
Oh, it's just amazing how
it was good.
They've turned it into what they've turned it into. But don't be alarmed. And I was talking over the holidays to some people, and I won't name them. We were talking about the flu, and I was like, I hope at this point, honestly, that you can go, gee, flu doesn't just disappear in the year 2020 and then come back. So I hope that we realize that it's all the same symptoms. And when they list out the symptoms, it always makes me laugh because they make it sound like it's new. Well, it's not new. And by the way, Tatiana Schlossberg, Caroline Kennedy's daughter, passed away, which is totally sad. She passed away at 35 years old, way too young. The ironic part of all of that is that she ponied up for every single booster shot. And the numbers actually are so much higher on leukemia, intense leukemia. Leukemia it really expanded after the year 2021. Basically from 2022 to 2025, we've seen larger numbers, and by a pretty good margin. So back in 2010, it was like 22,000 cases of it. And then now it's like 62,000 cases of leukemia. So by a pretty big margin. And it's pretty amazing because even on her deathbed, she could not acknowledge that those boosters did any harm to her. And I have a relative that died of leukemia, and it was like sudden onset leukemia to somebody super healthy. So it was really amazing to see, even as she was dying, which is awful, but it was just weird because it was like she couldn't acknowledge that she was super healthy up until that point, and then took the boosters. And do you know that on the health department website, the published website, they actually have several studies of people that got the boosters related to the rapid onset leukemia. So if they had anything in their system that wasn't coming out, the booster shots were causing it to come out. And so I just wanted people to realize that, because even on her deathbed, she was scorning people and mocking people that did not get the boosters and how irresponsible they were. And I'm like, look at your situation. You were completely healthy until you took those boosters. So I just hope the fallout, if people are finally realizing the fallout. I really do.
I hope so
Yeah.
too.
One more question I just wanted to answer before we get rolling, Melissa and I, because she's got a lot of great stuff and I don't want to interrupt her. So one other thing is this. I've gotten a lot of comments and questions about Greenland. And we didn't really mention Greenland because I really didn't think we had to yesterday. But I did want to mention this because I think that this is an interesting way to look at it. Okay. So a friend of mine who really understands what's happening and going on in the world was like, what's going on with Greenland? Why does he want Greenland? And this isn't, again, about Trump's personality. Stop debating that. This is about why it's happening now. Why Greenland, why the interest in taking Greenland and Venezuela now. And so this is my answer. And this is all by design. So if you're talking about Trump's personality, you're having the wrong conversation. This is the same reason he took Venezuela, or is in the middle, like we said yesterday with Dr. Pesta, of the Ukraine-Russia peace war deal, okay, or why he's in the middle, smack in the middle, and heading up the Middle East peace talks, or he's going to go down and take Venezuela. Why is our sitting president doing this? That's a question everyone should ask. I don't care if you're a Trump fan or not. I like Trump as a person, actually, but what he's doing, the action, is something everybody needs to look at, because what it does is he's laying the groundwork for regions right now and getting us to like the idea of like it being triumphant in some way, that we actually go and take a country, take this country, take that country. I mean, he's making it look triumphant. The reason that the deep state put Trump back in, because the office of presidency is controlled, is because the conservatives, us, we would not be bothered by the fact that we're watching somebody go and take a country. We have no legal authority to do so. Well, what gives us that legal authority? There is none. So what's fascinating is that we're so complacent to it. We're thinking it's a victory and a triumph over the deep state. I'm like, no. This is a direction of the deep state. So when you're looking at Maduro case and you're seeing that it's the same lawyer for Julian Assange as it is Maduro, when you're seeing that it's the judge from the Clinton era that had a lot to do with Maduro and he's the judge, it's a fake CIA dummy court. And so that whole thing is a sham, because Maduro is an asset, just like Julian Assange is, I believe, is an asset, when I did a whole show on Julian Assange. And so Maduro was the guy, and I mentioned this yesterday, he was the guy that was the mole in Chavez's, Hugo Chavez, his reigning power. So the guy's an asset. And so I just want you guys, digital ID is coming. And when we're in regions, it's a lot easier to control people in regions, because you're not dealing with country laws. You're dealing and constitutions, you're dealing with regions. So everything is a track that leads to something. And look where all the tracks are leading us now. So, and who appointed us to be in the middle of everything globally? We're just sort of taking that and saying it's okay. And it's not about drugs. And I don't think it's about the petrodollar. People are saying that today. I think it's more about what is in the future with laying down the tracks for regions. So just putting that out there, because I keep getting asked, and I'm asked in text on our texting line, which is 435-680-2503. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Whether you agree with me or not, it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just throwing out what I'm throwing out there, because I think this is what's at the heart of it. And I think that when they put in Trump, they wanted to make sure that we weren't going to ask questions about what Trump was doing, because a lot of people that go into the emotional argument of Trump are dead set on making it about he's kicking butt and taking names. He doesn't do that. Everything that he actually does is directed by the deep state. What he says about it is something that he kind of has reign over, but he doesn't have reign over taking Greenland and taking Venezuela. He's directed to do that by the deep state. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. You can believe whatever you want. Just wanted to throw that out there. It's not about his personality. Get off that discussion. Too many people are like, he's our savior. I'm like, he is not our savior. He is a puppet. He is a puppet. He's a directed puppet. And that doesn't go against being conservative, and it doesn't help the liberals. And the liberals are totally jacked up in their knowledge because they don't have any knowledge of government. But those that do, and those that want to look ahead, can see where we're headed, and where we're headed, the big hill to die on for the deep state is regions and digital ID, because then you can control the movement, the money, and everything. That is the kit and caboodle. That's everything. So that's where we're headed, and that's why we're doing the moves that we're doing. So there are other reasons too, but they are sidelines to the big kahuna, the big reason as to why we're doing what we're doing. All right, now I'm done. Okay, Melissa has so much to share, and I'm excited to hear, because you put a lot of effort into this one, and I really want to hear.
Yeah, this is a totally different direction from all of that.
Yeah.
So cleanse your palate for a moment.
Okay. Taking my cleanse.
All right.
Okay, got it.
So, here in the Midwest, as in many other places, the top stories have been concerned with data centers and water usage and power use and all blah blah blah. It goes on and on. And I'm just barely now starting to see some pushback from people who are talking about this is the greatest farmland in the entire world, where these should be national treasures. We should be protecting our farmland. We should be protecting the environment. And that's a controversial thing to say, because environmentalism is absolutely a double-edged sword. So on one side of that sword lives the nature is hopelessly broken.
Yeah.
And only through human intervention with human solutions will we be able to fix things. So if you think about, you were talking about COVID at the top of the show.
It's hurricane season. Get your shit.
That's stunning in its stupidity. But if we think about what we were sold then, our immune systems can't withstand this. We can't deal with it. Create a crisis, create a solution. None of it is natural to our bodies. And they're going to do that. There is that same thinking about climate change, right?
Right.
We have to spray the skies with toxic chemicals. We have to monocrop. We have to use pesticides. We have to use GMO seeds, all of that. That's all from the natural world is broken. It's the hubris of the people who say only we have the intelligence to fix it. Yeah. We got a great illustration of that at Christmas time when King Charles made his big speech, like, this is an existential crisis and we have to be out there and we have to be. Of
course he did.
We have to do this.
Well, Tatiana Schlossberg, whatever her name was, she was a journalist for the environment. And so, of course, they called her, she fought for America. She fought for the world. She fought for humanity. And I'm like, no, she just furthered the propaganda. Anyway, go ahead. I was like, that was her job. So yes.
Yeah. On one side, we get that nature is hopelessly broken. Humanity has broken it. And I'll give some props to that point of view. In some ways, humanity has actually done damage in the environment. And the agenda to fix it is more of the same of that, by the way. If we have climate change, then we can spray more chemicals. If we need more agricultural produce, let's use GMO seeds and pesticides and herbicides and chemically based fertilizer. Let's do all that, because our original solution to remove has not worked. The things that we've done to create the problem, we're going to do more of the same to fix it.
But we have to actually address what is the problem, because climate does what climate does. And what you're talking about is, let's separate the man-made propagandist argument, because that was even Schlossberg's argument, was that it's all man-made and our little plastic bag, even though everything's plastic inside of it, is doing our damage. So the climate does what the climate does.
Well, that is one side of the equation. The other side of the equation that gets much less attention, and which I would like to kind of shine a spotlight on today, is that nature and we can be humanity can be a part of this, but nature can be more resilient given the right kinds of assists. And nature is an interconnected web of life, and we can influence that, and nature can rebound. So I have a couple of stories here that I found. These were stuff I came across over the Christmas break, and I just found these to be interesting and fascinating stories. Okay, so let's start in Nevada. And these stories kind of build on each other. So we're going to start by talking about alfalfa farming in Nevada.
Okay.
She was a researcher. I don't have her name right here. She came across some old paperwork that was talking about the use of bees to fertilize alfalfa.
Okay.
And Nevada the soils in Nevada are becoming increasingly more alkaline. That is not a result of climate change. That is the result of prehistoric salt water, which those that live in Utah will be familiar with that.
Right.
The people that live in Nevada are well aware.
Salt Lake. Yep.
The Great Salt Lake is kind of salty, right?
Yeah, a little
and
salty.
Nevada, the big salt flats in Nevada.
Okay.
So people who are trying to grow alfalfa, which is one of the better things to grow in Nevada. There's limited choices.
I didn't know. Okay.
You're not going to be growing like 1,000 acres of corn like Iowa does.
Okay.
Right? So they've taken to alfalfa farming, but the bloom on the alfalfa flower that creates the seeds that they're trying to harvest, it takes a very specific type of pollination. And what was happening was the farmers were bringing in truckloads of honeybees to pollinate their alfalfa flowers. And it was getting harder and harder and harder to do.
Okay.
Groundwater was a problem. There was all these, just lot of problem upon problem upon problem, most of which started with our ground is getting more alkaline.
Okay.
So anyway, this researcher, she sent letters out. She found a thing that suggested to her there is a type of bee called an alkaline bee. For bee here in the Midwest, we have things called, I wrote that one down. Oh, mason bees.
Okay.
And they're ground bees. Not every bee lives in a hive. Honeybees live in a hive.
Okay.
Familiar with that. But there are types of bees that live underground. Mason bees here in the Midwest, they live in the little tubey stalks of flowers and plants. But they're solitary bees. They don't live in a hive.
Okay.
So this woman found a farmer who was willing to go along with her and do an experiment.
Okay.
And the kicker about alkaline bees is that they live underneath the salt crust that is at the top of the ground. Okay. So this guy took a 5-acre plot, and there's some very specific things that the bees need. They have to have soil that's loose enough for them to tunnel underneath the ground, but not so loose that it collapses their tunnels. And then they have to have this big salt crust over the top of everything. So this guy, he says, I'll do it. They bought some very expensive irrigation equipment because they had to irrigate under the ground to provide the exact right moisture levels.
Okay.
And then he brought in tons of salt that they crusted the top of this 5-acre plot with. And everybody in Nevada, all his farmer friends, were laughing at him. This is the stupidest thing they've ever seen. Why would you sow salt on your productive land? You're a nutbag. He was even getting death threats over it. This
People
is
are
stupid.
So funny.
I know. Like, why are you doing that? I'm like, why do you care? It's not your land. Anyway, so what happened in reality in this story? And these bees are native to Nevada. They live there normally. What actually happened for him was they released, I don't know how many bees it was. It was a lot of bees they brought in a big truckload. These are wild bees. They brought them in, dumped them on top of the salt flats, and almost immediately the bees began digging down through the salt and tunneling. Now, they knew that they would not know for a little bit whether this was going to be successful or not. And the ultimate test of whether it was successful is whether they were better at pollinating the alfalfa flowers than the honeybees had been.
Okay.
So they dig down 12 to 18 inches underneath the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And what they found was these bees immediately started putting their babies, that they're solitary bees, meaning one female will dig her tunnels and she'll have her little baby bees back in there. When they hatch out, then they build more tunnels. But they were all kind of shocked. The people who were watching this experiment were shocked, first of all, at the ways in which, despite them being solitary bees, they worked together.
Okay.
The bees like networked in similar places. Some places had lots of tunnels, other places didn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
And then as more bees were being,
Well, it's like
grown.
wasps. They coordinate attacks. So
it was
they talk to each other.
coordinated.
Uh-huh.
It was coordinated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the end of this, so what you need to know about alfalfa is that these alfalfa blooms, the flowers, have a very specific mechanism that the honeybees just didn't particularly like. It's like a trigger release to open the flower up, and the bees get the pollen on them, and then they spread the pollen all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the honeybees didn't particularly like it. The honeybees were pollinating about 50 to 75 flowers a day.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And when the bees began to pollinate in these alfalfa fields, when the alkaline bees began to do that, they were pollinating 200 to 300 alfalfa flowers a day. And one of the things they noticed that you could become a bee behaviorist, right? That these bees actually liked to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just relished in getting the pollen all over them and flying to the other flower. So, they were also achieving about 100% pollination on every flower they visited.
Okay.
So the statistics were way off the mark.
Yeah.
They also pollinated for more hours. These bees liked the hot weather.
Mm-hmm.
When honeybees are just like, oh, I can't go any farther. These bees were staying out until late in the afternoon. They liked the heat. These bees were thriving in this.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some of the outcomes that we need to really focus on. When they got to harvest time,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and I were talking about this. He said, alfalfa seeds are kind of expensive. And I did a couple of calculations on that. And it is. Alfalfa seeds are it takes about 15 to 20 pounds per acre. And they sell for about $8 a pound. So
Okay.
when they got to harvest, each alkali bee was pollinating 200 to 300 flowers a day. The bees were carrying 3 times more alfalfa pollen than any other type of bee that had been tried. They maintained all these things until very late. And at that time, alfalfa seeds were selling for $12 a pound, and he improved yields per acre.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
$15,000 to $18,000 per acre more. Per acre. So this guy, in his first year, he added over $4 million to his farm income with the use of the alkaline bees. At that point, all the laughter and the funny business stopped for him. Nobody was making fun of him anymore. In fact, everybody was like, wait, you did what? How much did you get? What? They found out that the seeds that he was producing, the seeds were bigger. They had very high germination rates. And so he could sell his seeds at a premium cost. And Nevada suddenly springs into the #1 spot for high-grade alfalfa seed. And the other thing, these farmers were all having to purchase bees to bring in to pollinate. But the alkaline bees set up their colony and they were self-sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had to bring any in.
Okay.
So he's not doesn't have to buy bees, doesn't have to transport bees.
Mhm.
The bees are they're adding
Just
value
being
to
smart. He's being
Yeah.
smart. Mhm.
just being smart.
Okay.
Well, they also found out that these bees were more resilient in hot weather. They were more resilient under drought conditions. Everything pointed. Now, everybody decided to jump on that bandwagon. So farmers in California, farmers in Utah, farmers in New Mexico, hey, we can do that.
Mhm.
And what they found is the people in California had different soil conditions and it didn't work out for them.
Okay.
People in Utah, different soil conditions,
Okay.
didn't work out. And the whole point at the end of this was you have to really be very thoughtful
Mhm.
about what your circumstance is. And so some of these Nevada farmers began to develop a secondary business in helping other farmers in other places to adapt their system to their particular situation.
Okay.
But it was fast.
Right.
This was one season of growth. Now this has been several years ago.
Mhm.
So this is the standard now, apparently. This is being used in Nevada very successfully.
Mhm.
And that is a great story.
Right. But I
It
feel like to
changed
be thoughtful,
everything.
about how you're going to do things. And I think our forefathers really understood that because they really knew how to grow things, right? Before the chemical age took away all of that. But they were thoughtful. And so there's thoughtful about farming and smart ways to do things. And then there's the whole propaganda arm. So the propaganda arm that says we're ruining the earth. We are not
Right.
stewards. Because we've always been stewards, but we're not. But now it is you are just reckless. You're awful.
Well-
You're terrible because you're a human. And so that's what, like, the globe thing in Vegas, that was their whole message story when they first like erected the big globe was, you're a human, you're terrible, you need to get off planet Earth so Mother can heal. I mean, it was garbage. It was just one
Well-
big lie after the other,
As a matter of fact, one of the things this guy was getting death threats over was
Mhm.
you're bringing these bees in here
Mhm.
and they're just going to die. He was accused of being mean and cruel to bees
Yeah.
because, we can't be mean. And as a matter of fact,
He was being thoughtful.
what actually happened
Mhm.
was the people who continued to use honeybees, which was what they had been using.
Right.
Those bees were dying.
Right.
His bees were thriving. And
Right.
we've all heard that message, right? Bees are in trouble. We got to do what we got to do because
Yeah.
pollination is important. I don't want to pollinate, 1,000 acres of alfalfa by hand.
Right.
That's so they found the solution that was perfectly suited by looking for what the natural environment had to offer to them.
Well, yeah, it's just being a good steward. I mean, I think it's
Absolutely.
like it got caught in this argument where they didn't want to address that people had been good stewards of the land. And then you have a couple of people out there who were poisoning things that could have just been dealt with lawsuits, kind of like 1966, the oil spill is what gave us the new environmental BS 1970 Indian crying around the river. We're all ruining Mother Earth propaganda.
Well-
but the oil that could have been remedied with a lawsuit. You could have sued the people that did that, and it would have been over. But they used it, right, to then say that all humans everywhere were ruining the earth, that we were not good stewards, that farmers were not good stewards, and that we were terrible and horrible. And then, so it was like you were either a horrible human or you were some wacko environmentalist that wanted to cordon off all human interaction with Mother
Right.
Earth. Right? It was
Well,
like it got separated into two
this-
camps.
The alkaline bees are a great example of a partnership that
Mhm.
happened
Yeah.
between. Now, he couldn't just not have any bees because he's got alfalfa fields.
Right?
And so what they did, the human interaction part of this was he created the place for the bees to nest
Okay.
and then let the bees do what bees do,
Okay.
which was go out and pollinate. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can't, that is exactly the definition of stewardship, by the
Mhm.
way.
Okay.
It's being a wise caretaker of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
People have a right. We are part of the earth, and we do have a right to live,
Yeah.
as do all the animals. But he was just using a system. They found a system that was better than the monocropping that they were
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
Now, so lest you think that this is just a Nevada thing, some of this has inspired Australians to use their local bees, they're called blue-banded bees, in greenhouses. They created a habitat for the bees to nest, and they are pollinating tomatoes inside of greenhouses.
Mm-hmm.
So yet again, they're using what nature has to offer in the local environment and
Mhm.
using it to assist what human purposes are.
Right.
That's okay. That's
Mhm.
okay. That's good stewardship. Okay, I want to move on to the next story, which is really fun. So in New Mexico, yet again, this is a New Mexico, they were having problems with the, I don't know how to say it, desertification, meaning arid soils getting drier and drier.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more familiar with this, although I think we're going to get real familiar with it here soon. The water table on the decline,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Underground water tables. So some environmentalists had this great idea. As a last-ditch effort, they
Mhm.
decided to see what would happen if they released beavers into this dry, arid land. And they targeted certain areas that they thought the beavers could survive. I mean, they're not dropping them into the Sahara Desert, right? They're dropping them into places that were kind of
Mhm.
iffy, but had the right stuff for the beavers.
Mm-hmm.
And they started with a very small number of beavers, like 12 or 15 beavers,
Mm-hmm.
and they dropped them in, and they said, well, now we got to wait and see. And they had planned this being a 5-year release program, and they were going to rehome beavers from other places where they were not wanted, and blah blah. They had this big elaborate.
Oh, I'm
thing
in
that
southern Utah. We know about rehoming. We had to give up all kinds of land for something that was native to California, but here in Utah. So the sellouts approved it. So we all know about rehoming here. It's weird, but go ahead. It was a turtle.
So what they found happened with the beavers.
Mm-hmm.
This and keep it was within weeks.
Okay.
Within weeks, the beavers, they're very industrious little things. They had begun to build their little beaver dams.
Uh-huh.
And now we have little beaver lakes springing up behind the beaver dams.
Mm-hmm.
And the beavers were quite busy having baby beavers. And
Yeah.
those little beavers were going out and making more dams. And
Right.
it kind of multiplied. But the beavers, who are regarded by environmentalists as natural habitat builders,
Okay.
what happened to that dry, arid soil after they released the beavers? So all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
very quickly, they noticed that the water table was on the rise underground
Mm-hmm.
because those beaver ponds stop or slow the water
Okay.
so that the ground has time to absorb.
So God did really great when he kind of designed everything because
That's what I'm saying.
he knew exactly what to do, right? Like exactly, right? So
So the beavers created wetlands in a desert,
mm-hmm.
and it had impact across the entire spectrum. Suddenly, because there were these little wetlands,
Mm-hmm.
they started getting fish in
Yeah.
the little ponds.
Okay.
And then when they got fish, they got amphibians and frogs.
Okay.
And they got birds, migratory birds would stop. They got herons and ducks.
Okay.
And when you have herons and ducks and fish and frogs, they began to get all kinds of songbirds. One of the environmentalists, one of the people involved in this study said, when I came out to these areas initially,
Mm-hmm.
it was all I heard was the wind.
Okay.
He said, now when I come, I hear a living ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I hear songbirds, I hear frogs, I hear water. It's now a living, thriving habitat across the spectrum.
Okay.
And beavers are regarded as what they call a keystone species.
Mm-hmm.
If the beavers can restore what they do, this is like the bees. This is beavers doing what beavers do,
Mm-hmm.
building dams and creating wetlands.
Okay.
All this, there's like a cascade of things that happen behind it. And the other thing that began to happen, because there was a little wetland there, they noticed that vegetation would spring up right around the wetland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the beginnings of, it started with little scrubby bushes that morphed into larger trees, and then they were getting, cottonwoods and all kinds of things. And when all of those things contribute to other things coming to that place, it was like almost building an oasis in the desert.
Okay.
We even ran into a story that said that in one place they had a toxic release of some kind of sludgy something, and the beavers built a dam and withheld that water in a sludgy, nasty wetland. And the ground itself did what ground does, and it filtered the water through and helped to clean the water before it joined the watershed.
God is good.
God is really good, and beavers are really, I don't know that this is beavers being smart. I don't think they're calculated about it.
I think all living things created by God are to be looked at and to be understood as something that is very intricate to each other and to nature. Like what government decided to do with what nature does so well is to turn it on its head to make it so that we were enemy number one to everything, right? All the time, no matter what we do, right? So that's why everyone carries around a stupid little plastic or cloth bag with plastic items inside, which always makes me laugh. But it's the same. It's if the government if the government can take something that works, that is God designed, they will do something to thwart anybody actually identifying that as a God design and turn it into without God, take God out of the equation and turn it into something that we're doing, something that they can make money off of. So,
well, here's another piece of this story. They found that in these areas where the beavers were at work, they had there was an increase in groundwater. One person who lived out there said his well had risen by 1 foot of additional groundwater in his well.
Okay.
And the other thing is the temperatures declined. Temperatures of the water and temperature of the air, both of them. It's also a positive for carbon sequestration. All the things, all those buzzwords that we hear all the time. Oh my gosh, the world is getting hotter, hotter, hotter. Well, we took all the beavers out. There's no more wetlands. And we wonder why everything's hotter. Let's pave it all over and see how hot it can get.
You know what? This is funny to me because this is how it goes. So I try to tell people this, and I swear they don't believe me. So I see all these posts lately on all these different Facebook pages and of course in Instagram, and everyone's going, "Oh my gosh, we don't have any rain or snow. It's such a light winter in Utah. I don't have to wear a jacket. And look at, this is crazy. It's climate change," because they're so dense they don't know how to describe what's going on. And so they go, "It's climate change. It's the humans. They're causing us to have no snow." And then of course the media, the AP lying scumbaggery news, and the government lying scumbaggery in general goes on, and they echo chamber that comment, right, over and over and over again. So everybody thinks that's climate change. If you go back to 1888, there was only 17, I think, inches of snow. If you go back to 1890, there was 18 inches of snow. If you go back to 1939 and 1940, 18 inches of snow. It's cyclical, and every 15-ish years, you're going to have a whole different type of season. And I remember back in 2000, I think it was 6, in southern Utah, in the desert where I'm at, we got snowed in for 3 days. It never snows in the desert, but we got snowed in for 3 days. But it was funny, when you saw the snowed in for 3 days, you didn't see the climate people go crazy. But if it gets hot, the climate people go, see. And it makes me laugh because it's just so stupid. It's like, no, go back. You'll find really cold years, and like all the way back to 1850, and you'll find really warm years. And it's like 10, 15 years, every 8 cycles. But it's so funny how they jump on it to try to make a point about how bad humans are, but it has nothing to do with it because it's cyclical. But they only do it really when it's hot. They don't do it when it's really cold. Have you ever noticed that?
Well, yeah, we're just about, we've already been through one cycle of this where it gets super warm here.
Yeah.
And then we have, I just was listening to one of the meteorologists today saying, we have the potential, maybe not as far north as I am, but there's the potential coming between now and the weekend for tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, all that, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be almost up to 60 degrees, and this is January. That's not good. And by Sunday, we're going to be back at 3 degrees.
Right.
So is it climate change, or have we just
not man-made, but
disturbed?
cyclical, God-given? Yes, but not man-made. We couldn't do anything. It's kind of like what's his bucket, the guy I interviewed.
If you want to hear about man-made climate change, then let's talk about what they're spraying in the sky.
Yeah.
Until we have that discussion, I'm not going to talk about anything else. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think that is man-made climate change.
Man-made
I think they
weather
are
warfare.
absolutely trying to change the climate by spraying us with who knows what.
Right.
And anyway.
It's like we just have to, I think what people need to do, and especially our hardcore leftists, which probably aren't listening to my show because they're scared of real history, but they're scared of some truth. But I think people that are open can, if they do anything in context, you will notice that everything is cyclical. Everything was designed by God. And I think that when you finally come to that conclusion, when you finally realize that, you just take anything that's man-made really out of that equation. You were talking about being smart and being understanding nature so that we could do what we need to do, right? And benefit from nature while still being good stewards of the earth. That is a very powerful thing to talk about. It is a good thing to talk about. It's something our forefathers totally understood because they used all natural things for like pest control and things like that. When the chemical age came in, just like what you're talking about with chemtrails and the chemical age, when they came in with all these chemicals, why? Because they said that we didn't have enough food because we had overpopulated. So they had to bring their chemicals in and oust all the natural stuff, but bring the chemicals in to actually make enough food for us, which was a total lie. It was a scam. But we knew what to do, and we had learned what to do. And then when the chemical age came in, it really messed us up. So we still have to like take all the man-made crap out of it, and then you understand nature. But like you're saying, now the man-made stuff can be messing with us, right?
Right.
So that's what you're talking about. The man-made stuff is now messing with our food. It's messing with us. It's messing with nature. It's creating weather warfare. It's doing all of these things.
Right.
So I understand where you're going with this because it's messing with us. But it's not because of the plastic bag and the cloth bag. It's because of what the government's doing. So
you were talking about cycles.
Yes.
So one of the things that came up with this whole return the beavers to the arid lands.
Yeah.
So the local farmers in the area where these beavers were being released were used to those cycles, hard drought followed by, rainy times, drought times, whatever. But they found in the areas near the beaver activity, streams that had dried out long ago suddenly came back to life. They found that soil near the beaver ponds stayed wetter longer.
Okay.
And it was even through drought seasons, there was water there. And they found that by slowing the water, by creating places for vegetation to grow, it actually changes the water cycle. So you have a stabilizing effect, which doesn't obviously you live in a desert climate. It's been a desert climate for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to suddenly become the Midwest,
Mm-mm.
but there can be a stabilizing effect where the droughts are not as severe and the flooding is not as severe. And the other thing that happened in those areas they found was that the fire risk decreased.
Mm-hmm.
Are these issues that people in the West struggle with all the time?
Yeah.
Fire, drought, flood,
Mm-hmm.
flash floods, whatever. If you have beaver dams, it reduces the flash flood farther downstream from that.
Right.
Because those beaver dams are going to hold the water like any dam.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a hilarious part of this story where the Army Corps of Engineers had been trying for years to get a dam built in this one place. And the paperwork to do it was so complicated, and the environmental impact studies were so complicated, and funding it was going to be so expensive. They released beavers, and the beavers did in about 6 weeks what the Army Corps of Engineers could not get done in like 5 years.
Okay.
The beavers just went in and built their dam, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all done. So when some of the things that have been done for flood control, let's build a sluice to handle this water.
Mm-hmm.
The beavers are like, no, let's just slow the water down. Let's keep the water on the land. Let the
Mhm.
water soak the water in
Mm-hmm.
through natural processes.
Right.
These are things that are smarter than people who have designed programs to do it. And
Yeah.
how much did it cost to release the beavers there?
Well, I think what
didn't
you're
cost
talking
$5
about
million
too is that nature's having a harder time doing what nature is supposed to do and designed to do because we're screwing with it. Not us as citizens, not the little tiny like what they're accusing the citizens of doing, but what the government has come up with in secret as far as weather warfare. That is what's screwing with the environment, I believe.
Yeah, there is some of that, but I also believe there has been a mindset in the past,
Mm-hmm.
in the fairly recent past, that people-driven solutions are always better than natural solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the Midwest, there's always this struggle over wetlands. I live very close to the largest wetland in the state of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat on a committee with the wetland, and they were talking about how to gain public interest in the wetland. And I said, have we told people what the wetland does for them?
Mm.
And
So they
that was
understand
like, yeah, because I think it's a value added thing. It filters our water. It helps to clean water. It provides animal habitat
Mm-hmm.
for all kinds of animals that are very desirable to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's flood control like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
In the times where we have too much water, it's massive flood control. In times where we don't have enough water, that area retains water there.
Right.
So there are ways to sell it, even to urban people. Like, look at the value that you get at your house
Mhm.
from having this wetland. Instead, we have a lot of fighting over, like, oh my gosh, these crazy environmentalists want to just drain the they don't want us to touch the wetland. And well, maybe we need to keep some of that wetland because of what it does for us,
Mm-hmm.
as well as what it does for the environment.
Okay.
That's my thinking about it.
All right.
Okay. The next pivot, this is the most complicated one, although it's probably the most familiar to everybody.
Okay.
In 1995 and 1996,
Mm-hmm.
Yellowstone Park made the decision to re-release gray wolves into the park. And that was controversial at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There were farmers outside the park who said, oh, the wolves are going to get out and they're going to eat our livestock. And I'm sure some of that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in about 1930, all the wolves were removed from Yellowstone. And what happened at Yellowstone was that the elk population exploded.
So we messed with it, right? And then
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Caused a problem.
They
Mhm.
they took the wolves out because who wants a wolf? And the elk sweet little elk. You know, they're so pretty and they have those cute little eyes that look at you, but they eat all the vegetation.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened along the streams, these little creek beds and stream beds and around lakes, was that the elk were just, they said cottonwood trees could only grow as high as an elk's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was killing the aspen groves. And I have a couple things about aspens that are unique to share too.
Mm-hmm.
But so when all the cottonwoods, when all the aspens, when all the willows disappeared around those creek beds and around the lakes and all that stuff, what happened was they got horrible erosion.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do with, the elk were starving, and then they had to have, there had to be some kind of herd management. So that's why in about 1995, they reintroduced one pack of wolves. It was not very many wolves. And yet again, same as the beavers, the people who were studying this and following it were shocked at how quickly the wolves took to that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And the changes that happened and how quickly they happened. So one of the things that happened, number one, almost immediately, the elk population began to right size itself because wolves eat elk, right?
Yeah.
So the elk that are not strong are being picked off by the wolves.
Right. Which all by
so
design.
that meant, so here's the cascade that happens. When the elk herd reduced in number, and they also changed their behavior. They quit hanging around the creek banks and the lake because that was easy pickings for the wolves.
Right.
So the elk had to, there was a behavior change among the elk. Like there's even a name for it. They call it, it's like fear behavior or fear something. Oh, the landscape of fear, meaning the elk now knew they had to get serious. So we're not going to hang around in groups of these big groups, and we're not going to eat everything in places where we're going to be vulnerable to attack from wolves. All right. So that helped when the elk population reduced and they moved away from like the creek banks. Suddenly the vegetation began to recover along those creek banks. Cottonwoods and willows returned to those places.
Okay.
So yet again, what happens when cottonwoods and willows come back? The beavers came back. There were almost no wild beavers left in Yellowstone. And now there's beavers there again because the things that beavers need to eat came back. The other thing, another thing that happened, Yellowstone was developing a pretty significant coyote problem.
Okay.
And wolves will hunt coyotes. So it right-sized the number of coyotes. And coyotes eat they eat mice and squirrels and things on the ground. And when the coyotes decreased in number, it made those little animals available for owls and hawks and the things that eat those things. So you're seeing a rebalancing of all of the things in that environment that made it a healthy ecosystem. And all they did was introduce a pack of wolves.
Okay.
One change kind of began to right size everything else.
Right.
So those vegetation changes rippled everywhere. And it wasn't just elk. It was an increase. It was a decrease in the number of elk, a decrease in the number of coyotes, but an increase in the number of birds, an increase in the number of beavers and other small mammals. It was an increase in the number of other desirable things, and an increase in willows, cottonwoods. And this is another thing that I thought was very interesting. It was also an increase in the number of aspen. And if you don't know about aspen trees are one organism, an aspen grove. They're one organism.
Right.
They're all connected by a very complex root system.
Right. They grow
trees,
together.
They grow together. They communicate through all kinds of interesting chemical signals. And as these elk were eating down the aspen, there were, as the mature trees were not getting any replacement trees, and it would cause the entire grove to die.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they've right-sized the elk population, the aspens are on the increase again. And by the way, this whole experiment is being replicated right now in Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
where they are very interested in getting their aspen. They have a different type of aspen tree, but simply aspen trees, right?
Right.
But they are also reintroducing wolves as well, because they also have a problem with some of the same things. And they're hoping that it will, due to their environment, some of the same positive benefits. All of this is, and we did talk about this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but all of these, like the wetlands that are created, the restoration of creek beds and stream beds,
Mm-hmm.
has also had very significant impact on the survivability for wildlife during wildfires,
Mhm.
meaning those are little oases. Animals will go to the wetlands in a habitat. If obviously we can't stop a lightning strike fire, a wildfire
Right.
that starts from a lightning strike, but when the aspen groves return and become more healthy, they chase out some of the pine trees
Mm-hmm.
that feed wildfires like crazy. Aspen trees are a natural, they call them a green fire break,
Mm-hmm.
because an aspen grove can burn and they will come back from the root.
Right. Right.
So we talk about, we have these problems, wildfires in California, but we're not restoring.
Well, it was the environmentalists that obviously that
Yes.
caused a lot of the problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly right.
Mhm.
Exactly right.
Mhm. So
So
we keep messing with it for the wrong reason and not learning, and it keeps showing us that it was designed to be very intricate, right? To solve its own problems. But the more we mess with it that way for government agendas, in favor of government agendas, then we have more problems.
Well, let's talk about some of that. As the more disruption we have
Mm-hmm.
in local environment and habitat,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the risks of that?
Well,
There are
mhm.
absolutely environmental risks with changing rainfall patterns, changing drought
Yes.
cycles, changing weather.
Mm-hmm.
They're covering as much of the Midwest as they can figure out how to buy with solar panels.
Yeah.
And now there's all these studies appearing that say, oh, by the way, those solar panels generate incredible amounts of heat above them,
Mm-hmm.
and they are changing the way in which air above them moves and are spawning more severe thunderstorms,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is just,
Well,
living in the Midwest, that's just music to my ears. I just love a hard, nasty thunderstorm that's spawning a tornado. That just,
Uh-huh.
woohoo, bring on more of that.
yep.
So there are absolutely our effort to become more ecologically friendly is actually making us more ecologically dangerous.
Well, yeah. When we learned from Tesla and claimed that we didn't, but we had his info that told us how to create and damage with weather, and when we started doing it, but denied it, and then it finally came out in Vietnam that they had to disclose it that we were doing weather warfare, and now we've got treaties in other countries saying we won't do weather warfare, and then we go to the press and deny weather warfare, which is kind of crazy. So we are messing with it to that tune, not people messing, but government messing. Like it always goes back to them trying to do it for some illogical reason that an environmentalist who's a total egghead comes up with. And then it's instead of understanding, like listening to the farmers. Remember that guy I had on the show that lived on the border, and he had all of the South Americans coming over the border and people from other countries. And he was like, they won't listen to us. They won't listen to us, and they won't listen to us on wildfires, and they won't listen. They keep messing with everything and causing all this to happen and then blaming climate change. And he's like, we're tired of it. We're tired of people coming over the border. We're tired of the wildfires because they're just idiots and they won't do what they need to do to get rid of the wildfires. And he's like, it's just frustrating because we have learned how to deal with all of this, but they keep trying to change it. They keep trying to change the narrative of it that we have to like impose, like government has to impose itself to fix the problem, but all they keep doing is making it worse. And so now you look up above and there's chemtrails everywhere. We didn't have that. We had
Right.
clear skies. We had a lot of clear skies, and now it's just chemtrails. All you ever see them. I
Well-
can look up in my sky today and see them.
Let's talk about chemtrails too,
Mm-hmm.
because the real risk from chemtrails is the unintended consequence of them. We do not know right now, is anybody going to tell us. If they do know, we're not going to be privy to that.
Mm-hmm.
The impact that those things have on people's respiratory health.
Mm-hmm.
Are we seeing an increase in asthma and heart disease and premature death?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can point to COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's more than one factor at work here. And I think what they're spraying on us absolutely has, what we're breathing absolutely has an impact on the incidence of asthma and increased asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what they're spraying to know whether any of that is creating new toxic compounds that maybe even they didn't anticipate?
Yeah. So if you
Nature has a way of being unpredictable.
if you look up on Chat GPT, if you ask it, what's in the chemtrails in the sky, it goes, there are no verified chemtrails. What you're really seeing is condensation. That's it. And I'm like, yes, planes go like this. They go like this, and then they go like this, and then they go this way, and they go crosswise, and then they're all flying in this very strange pattern all the time. That makes zero
Well,
sense. Okay.
This is very interesting too. Do we consider that Earth's climate
Mhm.
is non-linear and you can't take it back,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Once you spray it, you can't go, ooh, that was bad. It's just
Yes.
like once you take the shot, you
Yes.
can't take it back out.
Yeah.
It's there to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so effects can be irreversible. There could be feedback
Mhm.
loops that actually make things worse in the long
Mhm.
run.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I know.
I-
I know. Here's one comment on Facebook. Chemtrails, I can't say the word that starts with an F. Water vapor. Learn some physics. Have you seen the back and forth grid style action that stays up in the sky? Condensation evaporates. Have you seen the I mean, it's hard not to notice it, and it's on the daily. I'm not quite sure what. Do you look in the sky and think that that's normal? We didn't have that 50 years ago. You didn't see these tracks being laid down in the sky 50 years ago. I mean, it's ridiculous. People are so weird. Anyway, go ahead. So
Well,
bizarre.
So I had a conversation with ChatGPT about all this today,
I would love to know.
which is always fun.
Denial?
And I actually, I
Hmm.
actually asked ChatGPT to make my argument for me. Give me the information that I
Uh-huh.
need to make this argument because I'm going to debate this, right?
Okay,
And
okay.
it was very helpful, and it had some great comments. I love this. This is a ChatGPT thing,
Mhm.
and this is so true. The problem is not that nature lacks climate solutions; it's that we are disabling them.
Hmm.
I think that's a perfectly true statement.
Okay.
Like I said, I've given you a couple of examples, reintroducing apex predators, reintroducing it.
Mhm.
By the way, aspen, beavers, and wolves are all considered apex species for habitat reclamation.
Okay.
If you have those things, if you have an
Mhm.
apex predator, if you have, and it doesn't even have to be a wolf. In some places, there's different animals that are the top of that food chain.
Right.
I found this interesting. The only thing in Yellowstone that wolves don't bother with
Mm-hmm.
are the bison.
Hmm.
And that makes wolves smart.
Hmm.
They would eat a baby, but they don't take on the adults
Right.
because they're way outmatched.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we disabling?
Mm-hmm.
I loved this comment too. Do we
Mhm.
trust ourselves more than the systems that sustain life?
Mhm.
Do you trust some general in some office somewhere, or whether it's a military person or a civilian person or an environmentalist? Do you trust them to have the solutions more than you trust the systems of the earth that have been in place since the dawn of time.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you trust?
Right.
And I think after COVID, we should all be asking that every day. Who
The
do we
big
trust?
lie, COVID the lie. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what they said. And I love this. When humans
Mhm.
step back,
Mm-hmm.
remove obstacles for nature, and restore keystone relationships, nature does the heavy lifting for us
Mm-hmm.
because it's already designed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I
Yeah,
think that is
yeah, yeah.
very true. Working
Oh.
with nature is not passive, it's
Mhm.
informed restraint, and it's choosing partnership over control.
Yeah.
Partnership. We've used the word here today, stewardship over control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really want to say we monocropping, let's just have all corn in this field. We're only going to grow corn. We live in Indiana. We're only going to grow corn and soybeans.
Yeah.
And that's monocropping.
Yeah.
And it's the one species solution.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing to our climate is they're monocropping the climate.
Mm-hmm.
There's one solution. And that solution is we're going to spray the skies with whatever we're going to do. And we're going to block the sun. And that's a good idea. And we're going to do that.
Well, they do have patents for spraying heavy chemicals, fiberglass, all kinds of things. So we have to keep that in mind, that there's actual research there's people can do, like the doofus that just goes, it's water vapor. Well, we have patents for specific things that we spray in the air. Chemicals.
I know virtually no one
Mm-hmm.
anymore that doesn't believe that chemtrails are a thing.
Mhm.
Because we see it so often here.
Yeah, I like marvel at that guy's comment, or girl, I don't know what it is, but it's amazing that people in this day and age are like, that's a theory.
Well,
I'm like, they came out with
seriously.
it and admitted to it in Vietnam, you moron.
I have a friend that I'm taking pictures every time I see him and sending them to a friend who lives in a different state.
Yeah.
Share pictures back and forth. Are you seeing chemtrails today? Oh yeah, we're seeing chemtrails today.
It's amazing.
And just marking when we see the weather change as a result of it.
Yeah.
It gets really bad. We'll have beautiful blue skies in the morning, chemtrails by noon, and cloudy gray rain by 4:00 that afternoon.
I know.
They're changing the weather.
Well,
and that's not a natural cycle. That is not a natural cycle.
When I say people are becoming zombies, they will literally look up in the sky and it doesn't even spark an interest in what they're seeing. And they go, that isn't what I'm seeing. And the thing that's going to happen after the spraying happens isn't happening, even though they're being rained on, or even though they've got stuff in the air. So it's kind of crazy how we can be in such denial, but we can.
Well, I guess when you drink fluoride in your water your whole life, what do you expect?
Yeah.
People are going to be stupid.
Yes. Yes.
But like I said, I know people of a variety of political backgrounds here in the Midwest, and it doesn't matter from, I should ask my super uber liberal friend whether they see them, but
do you see what's in front of your frickin' face?
For the most part.
Can you?
For the most part, everybody I know will, and people comment on, oh, look, they're spraying today. Wonder what it is. We don't know. I mentioned on the last show back in December that there's a show on Amazon called Climate Trails. And my husband and I watched that over the break. And he got so worked up after watching that he typed up, literally, as soon as the show was over, he typed up a letter and sent it to our state senator and said, what are you doing about this? This is bad. This is bad. Yeah. We need to do something. And I'm beginning to wonder if the real argument over chemtrails could be made that it is a health issue, that we should be appealing to RFK to get the federal government involved in this as a health issue. Because we are eating whatever they are spraying. We are breathing whatever they are spraying. And I can only imagine that it has health impacts for all of us. So anyway, my husband was he became very passionate about it. And I brought it up again the other day and he was just like, yeah, I haven't heard anything from them yet. I'm going to have to send another letter. So it was a really, if you have the chance to watch that, it's on Amazon Prime. We had to pay like $4 to watch it, but it was worth the watch.
Yeah. We do a lot of really strange things. We took a turtle out of the Mojave Desert in California and we placed it in southern Utah. This is how stupid our representation is. And they decided that they needed a home for this transplant turtle. So they took a bunch of land and they cordoned it off for the government. And a lot of money was made because a lot of people had that particular property in ownership and got heavy payouts. But, it's another side story about the profiteering that goes on. But we have this awful representation. And the people that run southern Utah are terrible. But anyway, but they decided that this was the good of mankind to take a turtle out of California and then say that it was going extinct. So we had to cordon off property, give it back to the government and say that this is turtle land. And they even appointed cops to be turtle cops. They had to sit and watch the turtles so they didn't cross the road. I kid you not, there's a million jokes here, but they actually were on turtle watch. Then they had to devise ways to get them to make turtle babies. Okay. And we had jokes on the show about turtle porn because anyway, we did a lot of jokes about it because it was so absurd. But the government decided that this was a really good idea. Well, what happened was they created too many turtles. And so because they were messing with it so much and because it was such a stupid premise to start with, but see, the object of their affection was the land. They wanted that land to be taken over by the government so they could do with it in the future what they wanted to. So they used the turtle as the premise to get the land. Well, they were doing too many turtles. So what did they do? They brought the turtles to Nevada to euthanize them. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. The extinct turtle, the reason that we had to designate all this land in southern Utah and even pay cops to watch the turtles so they wouldn't get smushed by cars. And by the way, if you touched one, then you got all kinds of havoc, okay, from the court system if you touched a turtle. That they were going down and euthanizing the same turtles. So they were killing them because we had too many of them. So do we mess with things? Yes. Do we do things to get gain in other ways? Yes. Did they use a turtle here and then claim it was for the environment and then to get the land? Yes. And do we have awful people running southern Utah? Oh, yes. And they all think that they know what they're doing because they're liberals. They're closet liberals. They look like conservatives, but they're not. And this is the kind of messing with that you get all over the country. We're just one small little fraction here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just bumped into a great quote. It said, I tried to follow the science, but I always end up following the money.
So true. It is so true.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, because, and that's not stewardship.
Yeah, it's not.
That is not. And there's a lot of things right now in our world that are masquerading as science that are not science.
Right.
The people who decided to reintroduce beavers into an arid climate, that was science. The guy that's using alkaline bees, that is science. People who are transplanting turtles across state lines. Is turtle trafficking a thing?
Oh, turtle trafficking to get the land designated so people can't have it.
Yeah. So and I know that there's many sides to these arguments. Like you said, where you are, there's struggles over water. I think we're going to all get some struggles over water really soon.
Well, the struggles are fake. We can go down below for water like they always have. God didn't put us in a world where the government would be, controlling that. We can go, we can dig, but we don't dig. We actually now in the schools claim it comes only from rainfall, snowpack. And it's like, no, but we can dig. There's endless water down there. Where do you think the bottled water comes from in these artesian wells and these wells?
People own those water rights, right?
Yes, exactly. But the government owns a whole lot of land that all they got to do is dig, but they pretend that it only comes from rainfall. So if we have a light rainfall like we are right now in southern Utah, they go, see, it's drought. Because why? Because they can then regulate us to death and charge us money and do all of these heinous California style regulations to get us to go along with the fact that we think we're in a drought all the time. Yet when people want to move to my city, no drought, everything's fine. You can move here. And so they don't put a halt on growth because there's too much money attached to it. So what they do is they don't have the conversation when it comes to new growth, but they have the conversation to residents that are already here, and they say that there's drought. But they have to do is dig.
Yet again, one of the things that ChatGPT gave me for my debate argument about all of this,
Yeah.
I think this is interesting.
Okay.
One of the hazards that it sees over this is the risks include one nation acting unilaterally. We're seeing that right now with the UK. We're going to spray the skies. Well, China says, we don't care. We're doing what we do. We're not doing anything. And then the other one is weaponization or coercive use of climate control. No kidding. That is exactly what we're seeing. We've seen the weaponization of climate issues to manipulate people into things. And I just love this. We all just feel so good when we buy our electric car that we plug in. We've all seen those pictures. My husband said he's going to buy a big generator when people on the road with their electric cars buy. I'm going to drive a generator to them to charge them up.
Oh my gosh, the stupidity.
Where do they think the electricity is
They
coming
don't
from?
think. That's the problem. They don't think. Nothing's in context. There's no history. There's no nothing. It's just what sounds good emotionally. Oh my gosh.
You feel so good by being part of the solution, Kate. I feel so
drives me
good about
crazy.
myself.
I can't talk to liberals. I can't, because there's such a lack of logic that they don't see what's in front of their face. They can't admit what's in front of their face. They do no history, no context. You know what it reminds me of? Actually, this will be weird that I'm bringing this up, but it reminds me of the people that leave a religion because they see a TikTok video. It doesn't matter all the miracles in your life. Doesn't matter all the prayers answered. It doesn't matter. They leave God or leave religion or leave God basically because they saw some dude do a TikTok video that has nothing to do with anything in context. They have no knowledge whatsoever. They heard a thing and then they share the thing. And then all of a sudden people go, oh, I need to, God must not be real. I have to, even though they have a lifetime of seeing God in their life, they are willing to shelve that over a stupid TikTok video or YouTube video by somebody that's very bitter, who obviously doesn't even have the Spirit of God with them. And so it always amazes me that people will fall so easily for crap. And this is what environmentalists remind me of. It's like they'll fall for crap just because somebody presents some sort of emotional argument that has no history, no context, no truth, but they go, that sounds good, I'm on board. And then they live their life by it. It's amazing to me.
Well,
Sorry to segue.
I think in our culture today, we have huge disconnects.
Yes.
We just, and look in any direction. Like you were just now talking about the disconnect about faith.
Yes.
But there's disconnect about the environment.
Yes.
There's disconnect about all kinds of things. And I think we've become a people who are so euthanized or hypnotized or anesthetized or something by
emotion. By emotion and what sounds like it could make sense, even though we don't want to get any knowledge behind it. And I don't mean knowledge like information overload, like what we get now, but I mean like wisdom. That's missing. Wisdom is missing for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I was very inspired by all of that. And I was fascinated by the story of the beavers and the story of the wolves and the story of the alkaline bees. I'm sure there's many, many other stories like that. Sadly, what happens to these stories is they get buried underneath piles of other propaganda.
Well,
that we never hear about.
They don't want you to look to the sense or the logic of nature. They just want you to look at the emotion of the propaganda. Because the propaganda, there's a destination point. Just like the turtle, it was the gaining of land. It had nothing to do with the turtle itself. So that's why they always create the turtle, but it's always the land or whatever the issue is, whatever they're trying to get to is their hill to die on.
Well, we should do a show sometime. Talk about a disconnect. I think we have a disconnect in the way in which we live
Yeah.
from the natural world.
Yeah.
And people who, like my husband was raised on a farm,
Uh-huh.
he saw life and death,
Yeah.
not every day, but he was on a dairy farm. He saw cows being born, he saw cows dying. And there were things that he learned about the cycles of the natural world, even that we don't have. We're spared from much of that in our urban kind of hive mind.
Right.
That we probably would do well to restore. And I fall victim to this all the time. I tell my husband all the time, I'm glad I didn't grow up on a farm because I couldn't stand to sell the animals. Or I watched, speaking of TikTok, I saw a TikTok video and the lady was like, oh, look, there's our Thanksgiving dinner walking there. And it was a goose walking by. And I was like, oh, don't kill the goose. That's so sad. Because I am also disconnected from that. But we need to restore some of that. We have children that don't know where their food comes from. We have adults that don't know where their food comes from, which is why they make some of the choices that they make. If it tastes good, then it must be good for me.
Yeah.
And we know that that's not true. But that's the huge disconnect that comes from not knowing anything about the natural world. I know a lot of people wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah.
To talk about reintroducing wolves in a place where they live. I'm not sure I would be thrilled by that, but I'd certainly be more like an elk. I'd be thinking about it a lot harder.
Yeah. Well, we mess with one thing, then all of a sudden the chain follows. But that's not the same thing as the environmentalists that go out on a tangent or an absurd view of what humans do, and then blame the humans and develop propaganda to get the human to be the enemy. So it's like there's just so many different narratives happening right now, and it's crazy because I think people don't understand. It's like when I say stop having a Trump argument over his personality, over being a tyrant, over what Trump does or doesn't do, like about it being about Trump. It's not about Trump. It's like that's like the turtle in the argument. Okay, it's not about Trump. It's about what the deep state directs Trump to do, and they would direct. If it was Hormala as president right now, they'd be directing her to do these things. But they did it because they wanted to get conservatives on board. So they develop a somebody that we like and that nobody wants to talk about, right, in that way. But the thing is it's not about his personality. It's about this. It's not about that. So it's like, I think we have to do a whole show. It's not about this. It's about that, so that people get a really clear vision of why we're told what we're told and how the media directs our thoughts, how we think, how we develop our views, because our views are very skewed by the media and the government because they feed us this propaganda. But we've got to be able to be thinkers and look beyond that, look beyond the conversation they want you to have, because Venezuela isn't about drugs. It's really not about trafficking. And it's not about the things that they're saying. They're laying groundwork for us to be able to go and take over another country without the Congress involved. We've been doing it for years, but now we're doing it outwardly. And so we've got to be able to look at that and think. We just don't think anymore. We just are like, we go, well, what does the tribe think? It's like, well, the leftist tribe is environmentalist propaganda, right? And the right is over here trying to defend farmers and landowners and going, no, we know what we're doing. But there's just everybody in between.
In truth, on this particular issue, I don't believe that the truth lies with either farmers and landowners alone or with environmentalists alone. And until those two sides can come to some kind of reckoning with each other, I think that we have to be willing to look at both sides, because each side has something important to say, that we don't listen to either side. We pick a side. This is my side, and I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say about it. And I hope today I've given people I feel really, really encouraged. Each of those stories, at some point in the narrative about them, it says that everyone involved in those was astonished at how quickly nature was able to heal itself.
Right. Designed
Like,
that way by God.
how
Yeah.
quickly the bees took hold and
Mhm.
created their nests, how
Mhm.
quickly the elk population began to shift their behavior because of the wolves, how quickly the beavers were able to begin to create these little wetlands that were having a measurable impact literally within weeks and months, whereas the environmentalists said this is like a 5-10 year project.
Mhm.
It was literally less than 6 months
Hmm.
on all three of them.
Right.
So there are
Right.
very powerful tools out there, and I take
Mhm.
great courage in that.
Yeah.
It's not too late. But if we have a farmer who says you're not going to put any beavers on my land because I need every square centimeter to put my plow into, we're going to have to negotiate what's good for the land
Mhm.
and good for all of us versus what's good for an individual.
Yeah.
And some of that,
Right.
that tension between what's good for the collective and what's good for the individual
Mhm.
needs to happen. The
Mhm.
truth lies between those, and that tension is important. You cannot be solely a collectivist nor solely an individualist.
Mhm.
You have to look at both sides and balance the equation.
Right.
So that is neither Republican nor Democrat. It's not environmentalist nor is it farmer. It's looking at stewardship issues.
Yeah.
So I don't think stewardship is a Republican or a Democrat, and you never hear them use those words either.
No, they've got to. Yeah, they either have to go to. They have to go to two different extremes. You're the enemy, or you are,
Well, because we're tribal.
It's so
We're
true.
tribal now.
Yes. Yes.
Well, just wait. I just finished reading a book about Neanderthals. They'll have to revisit that subject soon.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to unpack, especially when there's parallel narratives. There's all kinds of narratives, and honestly, to get us to truly. Well, let me. I'll put it this way, and then we'll conclude today's show.
Sure.
So, white noise machines. Okay. So it started becoming a big fad around the year like 2000, 2005, something like that. And what's kind of fascinating about the white noise machines is that all these parents thought that they had come up with something amazing in a white noise machine because they would flip that thing on and then they thought the baby would sleep better. Now, there wasn't a huge amount of concrete evidence that that was so, but it became a fad. It became something that we could do, something that we could sort of realize, because what is it? They're always telling us that we're going forward, right? I hate that word, 'cause such a leftist word. Is it forward? And so we're becoming better. And so we develop these white noise machines, and this fad develops. The problem is that people didn't realize about the same time you had speech development happening and problems happening and hearing problems happening. Parents had them up too high and they are using them too much. And so we also have screens as well, but they weren't even correlating that as part of the problem of something that we were doing. So then the shift went completely to screens and not the white noise machines, which is kind of interesting because now more studies are coming out saying, no, white noise machines are actually a big problem and could be contributing to hearing and a lot of speech impairment. So why are we not looking into this more? Why are we not spreading the word more? Because we thought we had solved something. We thought we were doing something. So when we continuously mess with things like that, but we're not then on the alert for the fallout, like what's going on because of this thing, what's happening. Like it's like we think we've solved a problem, then we move on to the next problem without realizing that we didn't actually solve a problem. We created another problem. And so in talking about today's show, it's kind of like the same kind of thing. We just don't sometimes realize, people just are ignorant. They don't realize what they're doing. And when we mess with something, it causes something else, right?
Yes. And I think many people,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think parents that were doing that were ill-intended.
No, they thought that they were solving an
thought they
issue.
were- Right.
Mhm.
And I think some of the mistakes that we've made environmentally have been driven by the same kind of thing,
Mhm.
especially the closer to the bottom of the food chain you get.
Yeah.
I think people at the top, if you're the CEO of Monsanto, your view of what's going on is way different than if you're the farmer who's just trying to make a living on your land.
Yes.
So we have to become more invested
Mhm.
and more stewardship minded. I feel very
Yeah.
encouraged by regenerative farming movements, and I think we can keep the best of two worlds. I think we can look after the ecological, the biodiversity of the earth, as well as feed ourselves. I think
Mhm.
those things can happen together, but we have to change some of our thinking to get there. So that's a scary prospect, and we have to quit feeding the beast too.
Mm.
The beast is the Monsanto GMO'd, you know, chemical
Mhm.
agrochemical complex
Right.
that we seem to think is going to feed us all.
Yeah.
That has not been good for our health.
Yeah.
It has not been good for the health of the planet.
Right. Here's
So
a
there's lots
yeah.
of voices.
Well,
on that.
here's a comment coming in, and it's basically like, does everything go back to us wanting to play God? In some of the bigger
Yes.
issues, yes. Not in
Yes.
everything. I don't think that, like the white noise, I don't think we're trying to play God. I think we're just trying to figure things out, which I get. And sometimes we're going to fail, and sometimes we're going to succeed. But at the same time, the bigger things like the climate narratives and things like that, it's hell bent on trying to take God out of the equation and tell us that we're in charge of everything, and we're not. So
Well,
God designed nature beautifully. So,
I have used this word before.
mhm.
This is hubris. It's thinking that we can
Yeah.
control things that are beyond our ability to control. And as you have pointed out well today, God put things in motion that work just fine.
Yeah.
And it is hubris of us to
Mhm.
presume that we can engineer something so much better than what God has already put on the earth
Right.
to take care of the earth.
Right. So wisdom is going to be discovering those things that do not oust God, but that
Yeah.
you recognize what God has done, like the body, the immune system, and you can aid and abet that with what God has
Right.
given us, rather than
That's
trying to
right.
play God. So take him out, right, of the equation. That's when
Yeah,
we get into trouble.
exactly.
So
Well, the difference is
yeah.
the difference between taking a supplement to help your body
Yes.
and believing that
An herb.
transhumanism is the way to go.
Yes. 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 Yes.
That's the difference.
So agree with that. I so agree with that. By the way, something ivermectin-ish, I just wanted to mention, I was reading a story earlier about a person feeling bloated and feeling gross and not being able to lose weight and things like that, and didn't realize that it could be parasites. And so once they did ivermectin and fenbendazole, which are very, very safe to take, have a long history of safeness, that they were getting rid of some of those symptoms. And I know right now everyone's feeling kind of jacked up from the holidays, and we all put on an extra 10, the freshman 10, but it's the Christmas 10. And it's a tough time because January is that hard month where you try to stop sugar and try to do all those things. But I would probably go a step farther. I would go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. You'll get this ivermectin and fenbendazole and membendazole, given to you within 5 days. It'll be sent to your door. You don't have to pay a doctor, so you're going to save that cost. And then it makes it really easy to do. And on the website, they even have the amounts that you take for what you're doing it for. But that and Cardio Miracle are really helping me this week. And I just wanted to put that out there because I know a lot of you are feeling the same way and feeling gross, and you just want to just get Christmas behind you and all the treats and all the sugar and everything else that's been affecting you. Cardio Miracle, 2 times a day or 2 doses a day. And then ivermectin, fenbendazole, get the parasites out, can do so much in helping you actually help restore the body, which is then going to drop some of this extra weight, the poofiness, the bloating, the ick, and clear your mind up, the brain fog, all of those things. And so I really encourage you to do that. Go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate. Try it out. There's a money back guarantee. And also, so if you don't like it, you can actually trade it back in. But also allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Get that ordered right now because it'll come to your door in about 5 days. And then come mid-January, start that cleanse and go to mid-February at least with that. And you'll see by March, you're feeling a lot better. And I would highly, highly recommend you do that. I'm doing it right now. I just started ivermectin and fenbenzynol. I'll put up again that screenshot of what to take 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, if you want to do it that way. But there's just so many things that you can be doing. So we need to be doing those things and let the body do what it's designed to do. So anyway,
Exactly.
I love it. And so, oh, by the way, My Pillow has a huge amount of sales going, like rock bottom. Like I've never seen them this low. So this is the first in like 7 years that I've seen the prices this low on My Pillow stuff. He is actually going to be running for governor, I think, of his state. So, Mike, so please go and visit mypillow.com. Code word is Kate, and get some of those great things too. I really appreciate all of you. Any last thoughts, Melissa?
Nope. I think
you
I
got
said
it.
my say.
You got it. All right. Thanks, you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. Go to katedalleyradio.com and look up the sponsors. Help us out that way. Order from those sponsors. Cardio Miracle is a blessing in my life. I love it. Twice a day. Don't do it once a day. You won't feel much. Twice a day is the big kicker. That's what actually really helps you and gets the body back in order. And then, of course, ivermectin is amazing. Make sure that you're ordering bulk and have it under your roof. That's important. Thank you again, Melissa, Midwest Melissa, for coming on today. I will be back tomorrow, so 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks again, you guys. I really, really, really appreciate all of you and all your comments coming in too. Even the nasty ones. I thank you. Thanks for participating. No. Are you kidding me? After doing this so long, I'm so used to it. It's so funny. Anyway, really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much, and appreciate all you guys.